Welcome to today's Explainer. You know, we all have people we deeply look up to. We're talking about the innovators, the creators, the trailblazers, and the heroes who have fundamentally shaped the world we live in. But how do we actually tell their stories? How do we take a whole lifetime of struggles and triumphs and capture it on a few sheets of paper in a way that truly honors their legacy? Well, today we're diving into the highly impactful specialized craft of biography writing.
It really all starts with one simple but super profound question. How do we honor legacies? Because writing a great biography takes so much more than just opening up an encyclopedia and listing off a dry timeline of facts. It's a real art form. It's about capturing the absolute essence of a human life and transferring that inspiration directly to your reader. And to pull that off, you're going to need a very specific set of skills.
To really grasp the real-world power of preserving these life stories, just look at the incredible history of Dang Trey Trum. She was a young surgeon, and her diary was actually found by an American soldier during the war. He literally saved it from being burnt. Then, more than 3 decades later, a copy was returned to her mother, and the diary was published and translated into multiple languages all over the world. Because that written record was preserved and shared, her story of absolute devotion to saving lives became this globally recognized symbol of heroism. That is the incredible power of a written legacy.
Okay, let's dive right into this. We're going to open up the Craftsman's Toolkit and look at 3 core skills. Skill number 1 is synthesizing, which is all about gathering the pieces.
If we want to write narratives that have lasting impact, we have to treat writing like we're in a craftsman's workshop. Before you write a single word, you have to build a comprehensive picture of your historical figure. That starts with synthesizing. This is officially defined as the process of combining information from various, distinct sources to create a complete and accurate picture. Think of it like being a detective. You simply cannot rely on just one text or one single interview to truly understand the whole of someone's complex life. You've got to gather pieces from everywhere.
We can see how this works in practice when we look at someone universally known, like Walt Disney. When preparing to write about his life, we don't just sit down and watch his movies. We combine different accounts of his childhood, his education, his family life with his siblings, along with his massive career achievements. By weaving all these diverse threads together, we create a much richer, holistic narrative of the father of Mickey Mouse than we ever could by looking at just one source.
Moving right along to skill number 2, summarizing, finding the signal in the noise. So once you've gathered all your puzzle pieces, we transition to this second critical skill. Summarizing is the act of condensing the main ideas and key life events to highlight your subject's ultimate achievements. A great biography has to focus on major milestones. Think of it as the ultimate filter that keeps your reader actively engaged. Honestly, if you include what your hero had for breakfast on a random Tuesday in 1942, you are definitely going to lose your audience.
And this brilliantly illustrates the difference that summarizing makes. Just imagine reading a massive, confusing data dump of daily military logistics and troop movements. It's completely overwhelming, right? But contrast that with a sharp, concise summary of national hero General Vo Nguyen Giap. The narrative changes entirely. By summarizing his military genius down to the most critical milestones, like leading the army to victory at Dien Bien Phu in 1954 and the final Ho Chi Minh campaign in 1975, the profound scale of his achievements becomes immediately clear and powerful.
We see the exact same principle at work when we summarize the incredible bravery of another national hero, Vo Thi Sao. Rather than writing a tedious day-by-day account, we condense her story into powerful, memorable points. We highlight her carrying out attacks against French soldiers in 1948 at just 15 years old, being caught, and then making the ultimate sacrifice at Con Dao Prison in 1952. Summarizing makes sure the raw emotional weight of her heroism stays front and center.
All right, on to our third and final tool. Chronological order, laying the path.
So you've got your complete picture. You've filtered out the noise for the major milestones, and now you have to lay down a clear path for the reader to walk alongside your subject's journey. Presenting events in the exact order they occurred makes a life story incredibly easy to follow. Take this timeline of technology innovator Steve Jobs, for instance. We start right at the beginning, adopted shortly after his birth in 1955. We move forward to a pivotal connection, making friends with Steve Wozniak in 1971. And then boom, we hit the massive achievement, starting Apple computers together in 1976.
But this logical, chronological flow isn't just about sorting dates. It actually helps your audience understand the person's growth. Through this visual story of Steve Jobs, we can clearly see how earlier events, like sharing an interest in electronics as a teenager, directly lead to later successes, like selling a van and a calculator to fund what would become a global computer empire.
Let's shift gears to the blueprint. This is where we talk about practical application. It's time to put you in the driver's seat. Here is your concrete, 3-step structure for constructing your own biography. Step 1, early life. Step 2, achievements. Step 3, legacy. Notice how perfectly our 3 tools map onto this. You synthesize sources to write about the early life. You summarize the noise to list out those top achievements, and you use chronological order to seamlessly move the reader from childhood straight through to that lasting legacy.
So the crucial takeaway is this. When you intentionally combine these 3 skills, synthesizing, summarizing, and organizing chronologically, you do something truly magical. You transform a sterile collection of disconnected dates and facts into a deep, clear narrative that actually moves, educates, and motivates your readers.
And that brings us to our conclusion, celebrating life stories.
As we wrap up this explainer, let's bring our focus all the way back to the core motivation behind all of this hard work. Why do we bother mastering these tools? We do it because we want to properly celebrate the life stories we deeply admire. I highly encourage you to take this Craftsman's Toolkit and put it to work. Synthesize, summarize, and organize. Use these techniques to share the brilliant achievements of your own personal heroes, whoever they might be, so their legacies can continue to inspire others.
Because here is a final provocative thought to leave you with today. If you can master these skills, if you can learn, grow, and put your own great achievements out into the world, perhaps one day, someone will use this exact same blueprint to write a biography about you. Thanks for learning with me today.